Hi there. I am just really warm. It's warmed up today. I took a walk and I came home and hopped in the car and ran to the grocery to get a few things and wanted trying to get back in time. Of course, that didn't happen to start at 4:30, and I'm just kind of warmed up. So, and yesterday I prayed about it, and it just made sense to continue on with the beginning of the scriptures. We continue Genesis now, and we're going into Exodus, and it just you know the account, those early years account, were so exciting that it didn't want to stop. It's like reading a good book. You want to do the next book in the series. Hi, Buzz. How you doing? I'm just sorting off my table here a little bit. All right, Buzz, what's your real name? You're not really Buzz. Who are you? I've got a little cheat sheet here that helps me remember what your name is when I see you. And I don't have Buzz on my list yet. Be nice to know. All right. So with Exodus, this is showing me as an introduction to the scripture. Exodus shows how God used his power to rescue the Israelites from slavery. And I think there's more to it than that. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious as to why God allowed them to go into slavery in the first place, especially for 400 years. That's a long time. Paula Cooper, hi, how are you? Oh, and you're Liz. Good. Buzz is Liz. That's a cute nickname. Do you go by Buzz at home? So, let's do our proclamation. We trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not on our own understanding. In all our ways, we acknowledge him, and he will make our paths straight. That's right. So, this is a good beginning to this scripture. These are the names of the sons of Israel who went to Egypt with Jacob, each with his family. And we're going to know all these. We're going to be very familiar with this now because we've just studied them. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. The descendants of Jacob numbered 70 in all. Joseph was already in Egypt. Joseph and all his brothers and all that generation died, but the Israelites were fruitful and multiplied greatly and became exceedingly numerous, so that the land was filled with them. And they were living in, what was the name of that area they sent them? Goshen. They were in Goshen. Oh, you know each other. That's fun. Okay. Then a new king who did not know about Joseph came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become much too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous. And if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. So this new king, this new Pharaoh, didn't understand the history, didn't appreciate the history, and we'll call it the symbiotic relationship, where they helped one another. The Israelites helped them, they helped the Israelites, and for whatever reason, he had a negative thought about them and thought, oh, they're really here just to take over, that wasn't the case. They weren't there to take over. And I was talking to Chris about this, and he said there were several lines of pharaohs, and enough time had gone by that they really weren't. Not only did they not really, they didn't feel connected to what Joseph had done to them because it was under a different line of pharaohs. It wasn't from his family line of pharaohs. It's something he did underneath a different pharaoh line, a different government, kind of like what we see now. You're Republican, you're Democratic, and if you served one administration, the other administration doesn't want you. It's kind of like that. And Joseph had served a different Pharaoh. So this Pharaoh didn't care about the Israelites and how long they'd been there. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites. They didn't like them in a way to begin with. They thought they were kind of dirty people or whatever, and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with hard labor and brick and mortar and with all kinds of work in the fields. In all their hard labor, the Egyptians used them ruthlessly. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, I'm surprised there's only two of them, unless they were like head of all the midwives, because there would have had to be more than two midwives for, 1,000,000 people. So they might have been in charge of them. He said, when you help the Hebrew women in childbirth and observe them on the delivery stool, if it is a boy, kill him. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live? The midwives answered Pharaoh, Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive. So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own, which I thought was interesting. Must be it wasn't common for a midwife to have a family, that maybe she only served other families, but God decided to bless them with a family because of what they had done to protect the Hebrew boys. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Every boy that is born you must throw into the Nile and let every girl live. Oh, do we want to stop? No, we don't want to stop. We got to keep going. Okay, we're going to do 1 and 2. Now, a man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. Now, do you know what they mean by Levi? Levi was one of the sons of Jacob. So a Levi, a descendant of Levi is a Levite, okay? Now, a man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, okay? They were from the same descendants. And she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood a distance to see what would happen to him. So I liken that to, in our area, we would see cattails. We would see sort of a swampy area, maybe next to the lake where it gets shallow. We have a lake. It's not huge, but we have a lake here in town called Onondaga Lake. And there's areas where it gets shallow and it's kind of marshy, and there's tall cattails that grow there and tall grasses, not necessarily reeds, but the same idea. And so the mother put him in the basket there. I can't imagine as a mother. Can you imagine? I mean, one way or another, he was either going to kill your child or you're going to try and save him and hope he doesn't drown or something happened to him. So anyhow, she placed the child in the basket and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. So her heart was really touched when this little baby was crying. Yeah, she had a lot of faith. Yes, the Levite mother, yes, had a lot of faith. Well, to even save the child to begin with, she had a lot of faith. Yes. Then his sister, this is the baby's sister, asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. And the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So that turned out a pretty good deal. Not only did she get her own baby back, but she's getting paid now to take care of him. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. And that's what the name Moses means, to mean drawn out of the water. Isn't that a funny name? One day, after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. So let's back up a second here. His own people. So he stayed with his mother long enough. She raised him long enough for him to know who he was, for him to know that he was a Hebrew, and to know what that meant. Okay, I'd be curious to know, was he 5? Was he 6? Was he 8? Was he 10? How old would he have been? But there is another place in Scripture where they refer to Moses as being very unique as an infant. Very unique. That was the reason why his parents decided to try and save him, because there was something so unusual about him. Now, we don't know what that unusual thing was. Maybe in Jewish tradition, they know what that unusual aspect was. So maybe he was just so intelligent that even as a young boy, at the age of 4 or 5, he understood these things in great depth and could take them with him, even and understand them, even when he went to live with the Pharaoh's daughter. So I just think that's interesting that he knew who he was and he kept it, because that could have been 15 years after he was turning, 20 years later. Okay, because it says one day Moses had grown up, so it's been a long time now. You weren't considered grown up as a teenager. You were grown up when you were like 20 or older. He went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Glancing this way and that and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out and saw 2 Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, what I did must have become known. So the man he had saved must have gone and told other people, but apparently they didn't really appreciate it, because they're not handling it very well. When Pharaoh heard this, now it's gotten back to Pharaoh that he killed. How did it get back to Pharaoh? Isn't that crazy? So when Pharaoh heard this, he tried to kill Moses. So you got to wonder what the relationship was there. If they really saw him as a son of Pharaoh, I don't know, why wouldn't they? I just have a lot of questions about that. Wouldn't you be interesting to be a fly on the wall to see what was going on, to see what their relationships were, as to why that would have seemed okay? So, but when Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. Now, a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. When the girls returned to Reuel, their father, he asked them, "Why have you returned so early today?" And they answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." "And where is he?" he asked his daughters. "Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat." Moses agreed to stay with the man who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, "I have become an alien in a foreign land." And the name Gershom sounds like the Hebrew word for an alien. Where am I here? So during that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. So that's a good place to wrap up today. That's the end of chapter 2. And we don't we don't know how long. It's not evident here how much time has gone by, but it's stated in other places. Well, that it would be 400 years. In fact, God even prophesied, telling Abraham his people would be held for 400 years. So that's a long time. That's longer than this country's been around. You know, I thought my phone was up here, but I guess it's not. I thought I heard it beeping. Did you hear my phone beeping? So yeah, so there you go. We will wrap this up, and tomorrow we will continue with Exodus chapter 3. And I don't know. I don't have anything else to say right now. I can't think of anything else to say right now. So have a good day, you guys. Nice to see everybody. We've got Liz and Paula. Paula and Liz, you two are the ones who are chatting today. So, all right. You have a blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the thumbs up, too. We'll see. Hopefully, we can get more people listening in. You know, there's so much to learn and apply here. My computer's acting funny. No. There. See you later.